Is Mr. Kiley.
Mr. Hur, why did the White House ask you to remove parts of the report? What was the reason they gave for that?
I don't have the letter in front of me, Congressman. I believed that among their reasons was that they contested or that they asserted that certain language in the report was inconsistent with DOJ policy.
The day that your report came out, the president gave a live news conference on national television. Did you watch that news conference?
I watched the press conference, yes.
What was your reaction to seeing the president personally attack you and your team?
Congressman, I'm here to talk about the work that went into the report and my declination decision and my explanation of it for the attorney.
And it wasn't just the president. Anthony Coley, former spokesman for Merrick Garland, has said that Democrats should focus their ire on her. The president's personal attorney, Bob Bauer, said that your report is a shabby piece of work and a shoddy work product. Do you agree with that characterization of your report?
I disagree vehemently with that characterization of my report.
I also disagree. I think it's very well written, well considered, and comprehensive. Do you think it's appropriate for the administration to be attacking the work of a special counsel that it appointed itself?
Congressman, I'm not going to comment on the propriety of the administration's reaction to my report. What I can tell you is that I stand by the report and the work that went into it.
Today, the ranking member started his opening statement by saying, Mr. Hur completely exonerated President Biden and called your report a total and complete exoneration. Mr. Hur, did you completely exonerate President Biden?
That is not what my report does.
Was your report a total and complete exoneration?
That is not what the report says.
So the statement by the ranking member was incorrect, yes?
As I said, the report is not an exoneration. That word does not appear in my report.
Based on the facts and anticipation of defenses presented in your report, could a reasonable juror have voted to convict?
As I said in the report, some reasonable jurors may have reached the inferences that the government would present in its case in chief at trial.
So a reasonable juror could have voted to convict based on the facts that you presented?
Correct.
If you were on the jury, would you have voted to convict?
I have not engaged in that thought exercise, Congressman, and so what I'd like to stick to is what's in the report, which is my assessment as a prosecutor.
Sure. And what you did find in the report is that the president, you said this is page 200, risks serious damage to America's national security through his handling and mishandling of classified materials. And you identify, quote, a strong motive for the way he handled those materials. Two of the motives you cited was his desire to run for president and his desire to sell books. So a reasonable inference for your report is that the president risked serious damage to America's national security in order to make money and advance his personal political ambitions. Is that correct?
The report includes a description of the evidence and different inferences that reasonable jurors could draw from the evidence.
And you also note that the president described his predecessor's handling of classified materials as totally irresponsible. And your report concludes that Mr. Biden's emphatic and unqualified conclusion that keeping marked classified documents unsecured in one's home is totally irresponsible applies equally to his own decision. Is that correct?
That language does appear in the report.
You cite as a mitigating factor the fact that the president cooperated in the investigation. But at the time that the investigation was happening and these acts of cooperation occurred, the Mar-a-Lago investigation was already a matter of public record, correct?
I believe that's correct.
So we already had a public debate about the handling of classified documents and the potential application of the criminal laws to that general set of circumstances.
I think that's fair.
And so the president, when he decided to cooperate or not cooperate, had to know that that decision to cooperate or not cooperate would become known to the public and he would be judged accordingly. Is that correct?
I'm not in a position to opine on what was or was not in the president's.
But it's relevant to your analysis as to whether or not it counts as a mitigating factor. If he knew that he was going to have to be judged based on whether he cooperated or not, that would lessen its value as a mitigating factor. So did that, in your analysis, lessen its value?
We undertook a comprehensive
So
assessment.
that specific factor, did it lessen its value as a mitigating factor?
That and all facts relating to the president's cooperation with our investigation.
Another factor you discussed is deterrence. And you say that deterrence the factor actually counsels against bringing charges here because you said, as for general deterrence, future presidents and vice presidents are already likely to be deterred by the multiple recent criminal investigations and one prosecution of current and former president and vice presidents for mishandling classified documents. So that one prosecution, of course, is the indictment brought by Jack Smith. So by the very terms of your analysis, Jack Smith's indictment actually counseled against and was counted against bringing charges in this case. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, Congressman, I don't follow your drift there.
Well, you said that there's already deterrence because there's this prosecution out there in a prior case related to classified documents. So we don't need to bring another case to establish deterrent value. That was the essence of your analysis, correct?
Congressman, what I'll say is that I will stand by the way and the specific words in which I characterize my assessment of deterrence value of a case under the principles of federal prosecution that's on page 254 and 255 of my report.
Thank you. My time is out, but I'll just add the perverse implication here is that the administration, by the very terms of your analysis, actually made it less likely that the president would face charges by Jack Smith bringing an indictment. Thank you, and I yield back.